me!
Episode 388.
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will.
And Tony.
No one listens to the radio. I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Radio's boring.
Yes, indeed it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Another edition of NetHeads. Finally got things a little bit sorted here, but also still fixing them on the fly. My name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
You want to take part in the program? You can, one of many ways. But you know what we always like to say is just chat where you're at. Just chat where you're at. That's all it takes. And you can interact with us live after the fact as well. You can find us patreon.com/netheadsonair, and netheadsonair.com will take you everywhere you need to go. Wow, that was a lot. That was a metric ton of plugs all condensed down in to about 20 seconds. Is there anything you want to plug while we're at it, Tony?
I don't know. Do you want to make sure everything's plugged in properly? No, absolutely. So just want to make sure that make the announcement. Still the founder and co-CEO of Nerd Initiative, but we are doing something new with It's Fanbox. Itsfanbox.com. Be sure to check that out. It'll take you to our YouTube channel, as well as you can find us on X and Instagram and TikTok. But we'll be doing our first official Fanbox exclusive stream on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time, talking about Agatha All Along. So be sure to join us then. And then the first exclusive edition of Fandoms, episode 001, will be next week, the 27th, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we hope to see you there.
Awesome. And also special thanks to Tony, since we usually gather here on NetHeads with Tony on the Thursdays before the Fandoms Fridays, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Trent had an obligation, and Tony was nice enough to step in. So thank you very much, sir. Greatly appreciate it.
I always appreciate being the Trent understudy. Absolutely, anytime. Will actually texted me and said, would you be able to do NetHeads, or is there too much going on? And I'm like, there is very few things in this world that would prevent me from filling in and helping out. So here I am.
Got on something right there. Anyway, special shout out to my beautiful bride, Denise. We just celebrated 30 years of marriage yesterday, and couldn't be happier. I am so thankful. She said, I do. And here's hoping for 30 plus more years of happiness for us together. Look at me just wishing myself some platitudes. I don't know if that's the way it works. It's kind of like if you try and use a wish selfishly, it backfires. I hope that's not the case. Now, Tony, we did have a little bit of a hiccup, got everything, I think, sorted out. But one of the things I was telling you about was the drive down to my honeymoon in Disneyland. And I was saying that I'm not sure if this was a good omen or not before we got kicked. And that was the fact that we left our apartment because that's where we went right after our reception. No big fancy hotel or any of that other stuff I got to see other people do when I was videotaping weddings. No. Went back to our apartment. And early the next morning, we got ready for a drive down I-5 to honeymoon in Disneyland. We weren't on the freeway for more than 5 minutes. Then when the car in front of us, now I was in the slow lane, they were in the fast lane, and that car just first pitched hard right suddenly, pitched hard left, and then all the way back over the edge of the freeway into a ditch. I don't know if that was a good omen or not for my wedding or for the first day of my marriage, but 30 years later,
everybody else's life can fall apart, but you guys are still together, so that's what matters.
30 years later, I guess I didn't even need to explore that question because guess what, pal? It did work out. It's not a bad omen, you knuckleheads.
Disneyland, though, did you enjoy that as a honeymoon?
Yes and no. I think we had 3 days scheduled, and by day 2.5, we realized that our footwear just wasn't adequate. And that is one of the things that is most important when it comes to Disneyland, because as we've mentioned here on the show before, at the end of the day at the parks, you are doing what they call the Disneyland shuffle, where you don't want to move your legs, you don't want to move your hips. All of your joints are just saying, stop, enough already. And of course, when we recently went to Disneyland, the old plantar fasciitis that us folks get to deal with now, that was in full effect. But there was one family Disneyland trip. I had unfortunately been in an auto accident the week before, and we still decided to go. And we all unfortunately refer to that as the Disneyland trip that I ruined, because I had about a 2 to 4 hour window of the day where I wouldn't be in pain because I took a high-grade Advil. And then after that, I had the worst back problems. That, just like going to a park where there are rides, not the best idea, but, we dealt with it. So that's what we did. And by dealt with it, I mean 2 years later, I had to take the entire family back to Disneyland again for a trip that they would never forget. And that was the best one, because at the time it was just the fast pass system that they were using. It wasn't called Lightning Lane. You couldn't reserve it online. And there would be services where you could tell them what park you were going to, what time of day you're going to get there, and all of the rides that you want to get on. And what it would literally do would tell you, like, the only thing you got to remember is you got to have more than one person. Because what you're going to do is you're going to get into the park and you're immediately going to get a fast pass for this, and then you're going to go on that ride. And then when you're when you get to the fast pass, when you go on that ride, instantly you send a runner over to another ride to get another fast pass. And then you go on this ride before you go back to that ride. But I will tell you.
Yeah.
Funnest trip we ever had, because we felt like we accomplished so dang much, which,
Oh yeah. It was like teamwork, right? I mean,
yeah. Now it's all monetized. Now it's all about haves and have-nots when you go to Disneyland, because, I was able to get the Genie Plus and I paid extra so I could go on the Rise of the Resistance instead of waiting in line, which, by the way, when we went, there was almost never a time where the line was terrible. Why are we talking all about Disneyland? I have no idea. Tony, one of the things that
Disney's on the brain. That's all it is.
Yeah. The thing that I loved the title of this, because, guys, I got to tell you, it's a little bit clickbaity, but at least I'm being forward and honest about it with you. The simple fact is, I'm not going to be able to talk on Saturday night because my daughter has a birthday party escape room to go to. So my wife and I are going to have
nice
anniversary date part 2 while she's doing the 3-hour party at the, I don't know how it works, but at the escape room place. So we're going to be doing that. So I unfortunately won't be around to talk about it, which is part of the reason why the title of this one is Agatha All Gone Wrong. Play on words. I actually absolutely adored it. We're just going to kind of hit on some of the high-level first reaction thoughts, because like Tony mentioned over on its fan box, they're going to be talking about Agatha All Along's first 2 episodes in detail. And we don't want to steal that thunder, but just, Tony, first thoughts, what did you think?
So I will say, I tried to do a watch party. Didn't really. The technology is just not working. It's not working like it used to. I miss seeing her. I'll be honest with you. But sitting there watching the episode, I actually watched it twice. I watched both episodes twice before I went to bed. I absolutely loved seeing people from Westview that we've seen through WandaVision in the more real lives. I loved how Agatha was left, where she is constantly stuck in episode 1. She's stuck in her own show, and it's basically this idea that she's the only one that's really stuck in there, and everybody else is kind of just catering to her insanity. The characters are very likable. I love the tension between the other witches that she's calling for her coven. Aubrey Plaza is a great sinister character, which I'll talk about more as we get more in depth with it, but I really do have a theory about who she is, because she's already said, even though she's being called Rio, she's talking about there being a character reveal for her, and I think I know what it is. And I absolutely love Mrs. Davis, or Mrs. Hart, from WandaVision. how she's just along for the ride, and I think she's gonna be my favorite part of the episodes.
She's probably also going to be the surprise powerful witch by the end of this. My first thoughts, one, as the heir apparent to what was WandaVision, the way the show started out was genius in the fact that she is trapped within the spell that Wanda has cast on her, and it's happening in certain iterations, right? And we come in on crime drama delusion that she's going through, and as you alluded to, apparently at that point they all just considered Agnes the town crazy, and they're just like, we tried to take care of her and help her out. Makes me wonder if they seem to remember Wanda just fine. It's a name they don't want to talk about, but did they not remember that Agnes was flying above in the sky, blasting her purple all over the place? Did they not remember that, Tony? It doesn't seem like it.
I feel like everyone was scattered, and I think that the instance that happened on their street was isolated. And again, it wasn't until Wanda lifted the spell off of everyone that things went back to normal. And so Agatha was the only one that was still caught in the little micro hex of her own doing. So they probably don't remember a whole lot of what was going on other than that they were tortured.
Yeah, maybe. So as the heir apparent to WandaVision, and especially the way that show started out in the first 3 episodes, I was very pleased with the direction they took. I also am glad that we weren't there very long, because at about the point where I'm like, enough of this already, it started thankfully making the transition. The other thing that I do love about this show, amongst all the other things that they are setting up, is that I realized as I was thinking about it this morning, as I put the sleep from my eyes. By the way, I'd like to thank Disney Plus for the wonderful anniversary gift. It was so nice of them to drop 2 episodes of that. And
they
also,
were thinking about you, Will. It's because of your honeymoon in Disneyland that they wanted to say, just to celebrate that 30 years, we want to celebrate with you again.
Yeah, because they're not after me instead of the many Disney vloggers that are out there. Look, I really like the show, and this morning I realized something. The way it all came together, and they allude to this even in the trailer, this is a much darker, more sinister version of The Wizard of Oz. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way.
So I'm really looking forward to this as it unravels. I also look forward very much to everyone on the internet going absolutely insane with their theories and ideas until all things are revealed. Because, if there's any one thing you can trigger anybody that was sitting around on the old TikTok during the early days of the pandemic when we got WandaVision, people have a certain trigger reaction when you say the name Mephisto. That's why there is a joke. It was Mephisto. It's always Mephisto, guys. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. is Dr. Doom. It's actually Mephisto, Tony. Did you know that?
Now, what's really crazy is there are so many Fantastic Four references within WandaVision, within Agatha All Along. The Salem 7 that we see that are coming after Agatha. Those were villains. See, a lot of people forget Agatha Harkness was more of an ambiguous character. She leaves New Salem, which is in like the Midwest, and ends up is like a nanny to Franklin Richards, is Reed Richards' children, or Reed Richards' child. And it's because of her son, which you see his room in the Agatha series, Charles Scratch, who ends up kind of like leading the New Salem, that they try to hold her accountable for New Salem being exposed because the Fantastic Four get involved, and it's only because of Charles Scratch's interaction that they do that. There's a whole thing with the Salem 7 that go after the rich, like they defeat the Fantastic Four. They're trying to punish Agatha. There's all of this stuff going on, and so all of this is really pointing to the Fantastic Four, and it makes it really interesting whether or not they're going to go that route down the road, because I don't think Agatha is necessarily a bad guy. She's just like a not good guy.
Yeah, we are sort of we do kind of have a dark lead here, and it's just one of those scenarios where you're like, wait, who exactly am I rooting for? Even though, as my wife is sitting in the family room right now, binging because she never watched Dexter, it's easy for us to be able to kind of root for a bad person. So yeah, I'm very pleased with what I saw. I'm very hopeful for what we may see, and I think the other thing that I like about this is they timed the running of this show so well that the season or series finale is going to happen the day before Halloween. So it's adequately timed for this time of year, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of
Very
which,
much so.
Tony, I made mention of TikTok, and I got to tell you right now that that app is so dang dangerous. I'm sure if it weren't around, Instagram Reels would probably be the same thing for me. I don't know if you know this, Tony. When it comes to Halloween, I love decorating the yard. I love Halloween. I love decorating for it. And every Halloween proper that night when we're handing out the candy, I've always got 3 pumpkins lined up on my porch, and they become animated pumpkins that sing and tell jokes and do things all night. I
Very cool.
often will be running a fog machine, and what else? And then whatever the decorations are. Now, in the past, I've done different methods of doing fog, because the important thing you got to remember about fog, Tony, is that it's not cool or creepy unless it's traversing on the ground, okay?
Right.
It's got to be ground-hugging fog is what I'm saying. And there was a guy on I saw him on the old TikTok. He was actually repurposing footage from his Instagram. And I think it was like DIY Light Guy or DIY Lights or DIY Light Pro. I don't know, man. Google it. Look, I'm not here to give you the links to go. I'm just here to tell you the stuff that I saw. And he did something that is so basic in its concept. I'm amazed nobody's ever come up with it, or I haven't seen it before. And I feel dumb that I never thought about it since. He does 2 things. And one of them is he takes a 72-gallon storage bin and he puts flanges on it so that way the outdoor black pipe or the plumbing black pipe that he uses can go on either side, fills it about halfway up with water, and then he puts a 12-unit atomizer in it, or diffuser. You know how we have the diffusers with the oil and they're able to instantly make fog and mist? Does the exact same thing, but it's one made for an outdoor fountain. So it constantly churns out that. So your fog machine is shooting into that, and as the fog is going through there, it's picking up the extra moisture from that mist. And then the other thing he did, that this one just, I kick myself time and time again, because you do the exact same treatment to a cooler, but what you do is you have one pipe coming in here, and then there's another way for it to get out. And it traverses ice in there to make that fog cold and make it hug the ground. Dude took a 24-pack of Great Value water bottles and froze them to put in the cooler. All of my life, I have actually, at least the last 10 years, Tony, I have never looked forward to taking down the Halloween night decorations because I knew I was going to have to deal with that cooler full of melted ice. And now I'll just have water bottles at the end of the night. It's so basic, such a basic idea. But the other thing he did, because the other thing that can be hokey is you just don't want the fog coming out of like a hose, right? Or a dryer hose painted black or what have you. This guy takes the same outdoor black pipe and he actually puts it all the way around to the point of delivery. And the smartest thing that I have ever seen, once again, this guy's got 3 innovations on me now. He takes the black pipe, he does cap it off, and he saves basically 6 inches. 6 inches on one side to cap it off, the other to connect it to the feed. But then he just uses a saw and rips a seam, if you will, between those 12 inches, if you will. So that way, when the pipe is laying down, it's just constantly pushing out this thin curve.
It's pushing out as a flat. Yep.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh man, I'm looking forward to it. So I look forward to sharing pictures with all of you, or the part of the video experience. I also did get one of those green level lasers, so that way it can be kind of get a bog effect, a swamp effect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's
I don't
cool.
know Why am I sitting here bragging and boring everybody on the Halloween decorations? I have no idea.
No, because that's part of it. That's part of it. Listen, there's other options. Like you definitely need a cool if you have one of those high wattage fog machines, especially because they just billow smoke out and it just goes all over the place. There are some fog machines now that are lower wattage or lower voltage. I think it's whichever one they're called low laying fog machines, and they have a different type of liquid that they use. Like you can find them at Spirit Halloween, and they still go up a bit, but they stay kind of below your waist level. So if you're looking for a cheap option, you don't want to do a whole lot of DIY, there is that. But for a simple fog machine, run it through ice has always been the coolest option, and that, I mean, and again, if you like want to do cauldrons or whatever it is, like if you have like just drop dry ice in a bucket of water, like that's the easy way to do it. But yeah, so much fun.
I just want to clarify. You literally just said running it through ice is one of the coolest things. I just want to make sure that's what you said. Those are the words.
Yes,
that came
it
out
is
of your
what I
mouth, right?
said. Does it? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. I got it right. Wanted to make sure I was on point here.
Listen, I'm automatically punny. That's just how it is.
Oh, okay. That was supposed to be a pun. Gotcha. Look, Tony. Let me tell you something. 3D printing is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you want to know why 3D printing is dangerous?
Because you get yourself into situations and projects that you have to complete and you don't always complete them. And then you go down rabbit holes.
That's a good breakdown. I like that one. But also it can lead to more purchasing and money spending. You're like, oh, I'm going to get a 3D printer so that way I can buy a $20 roll of filament and make all of these things. So it's not like it's costing me $20. It cost me $5.88 to make my Deadpool helmet, right? So you're thinking, I'm going to make things and save money and have cool things. No, it always leads to spending more money. This week, I finally started exploring one of the things that has been widely available on our phones for quite some time. And that is, I'm not talking about any groundbreaking innovation of technology here. I'm not introducing new features or anything to you. That simple technology is just the MagSafe connectors on our phones. Do you have anything in your repertoire that is MagSafe enabled, sir?
No, I do not.
Potentially your iPhone does. Are you being sarcastic?
No, other than okay. So when you say MagSafe, please define so that I know.
Oh, believe me, I'm going to send you down a rabbit hole, sir. Because you'll notice one of the things I used my phone as an example. The reason why is because I had to spend some extra money. I'm a person that really likes having a loop on their phone. Okay. I like being able to hold my phone like this freehand. So that way I'm not doing the kickstand on my pinky and getting an extra dent. Not to mention when I'm walking around, I can throw my finger through the loop and I'm carrying my phone. And if I need my hand, I can just flip it over. I'm still holding my phone, got my hands, right? So I've been a person, had a loop for a long time. You may say, Will, if you've had a loop for a long time, you've had that love handle, that special magnetic one, the one that you enjoyed so much that you even put the matching magnetic car mount into your car. Obviously you're really invested in that. Why am I now looking at a MagSafe type of product? Which, by the way, this one is really cool too, because not only does it have that strap, but it folds out right into a little stand so your phone can stand up on it. That's cool. Right? The reason why is because of 3D printing, Tony. That's the reason why. Okay? It's just that simple. Because I needed to have a way to easily and conveniently swap out my loop. Why would I do that? How could that have anything to do with 3D printing? I'm going to tell you. Have you seen this little innovation come up in any of your social media feeds?
What is that?
Okay, so what it is, it's something. I think the original design was somebody partnered with Bamboo Lab, who makes the printers that I use, and they came up with this. Now you notice it's kind of I almost refer to it as what I would call 70s future retro. meaning the late 60s, early 70s, they had ideas of what the future would look like. But right in the middle of it, that's a MagSafe charger. Why? Because when this is plugged in, I don't know if you know this, Tony, if you're charging your iPhone at night and it's on its side like this, it puts on a clock face. So you take your phone, you're like, oh, I'm going to bed. I'm going to put it on the charger. And now you end up having a clock radio, just like that. Well, obviously that's my home screen and not what I'm talking about because it's not plugged in right now. But this, it suddenly becomes something that looks like it's both a charger and it turns your phone into that appearance of a clock radio that you would expect. And then you just 3D printed this extra handle. You got to make sure your hand's in front. You press in, phone pops out, you're on your way. This design this design has another cool thing though. Excuse me. There's a reason why there's two cords coming out of here. There's a very thin wall printed right here. And underneath there is a place to put your Apple Watch charger. So now you can set your watch or your AirPods or AirPod Pros with the inductive charging right on here. This frickin' thing, Tony, has unraveled my life in completely changing all of my stuff. New phone case, MagSafe, MagSafe enabled, excuse me, phone case, MagSafe loop, all because of this. It all just started with this. I thought this was neat. But then, oh, wait, I can't have my loop in there, so I'm going to be taking my case off all night. I don't want to be taking my case off all night or every night. That's annoying, taking the case off, having to put it back on. What if I take my phone to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I drop it? Don't want to break it. Can't do that. None of this makes sense. However, when that is MagSafe charging, inductive charging enabled, and I can just go like that and throw my loop on, look at that. Now I'm just swapping that out. You're like, okay, Will, that's reasonable. Okay, maybe a little psychotic, but maybe that'll work with the magnet mount in your car. Maybe it won't. Then I started realizing all the things that are MagSafe enabled around me. I'm sure I've showed off this little baby before. This is great because if you want to turn your iPhone into something more like a phone, like a camera, you can do that. You can it's got a shutter, Bluetooth right here, rechargeable. You're taking pictures. If you're shooting yourself, it's got the light right there. You can illuminate yourself. You could do, hey, look at me. I'm vlogging at Disneyland or whatever the hell I'm doing. It's right there, MagSafe. Works wonderfully, works perfectly. I haven't been able to get it to fall off of this thing. I'm like, wow, now maybe I'll start using that. Let me tell you something else, too. One of the things that I picked up, one of the handiest things that I have used when I've been shooting content myself, and I don't have a product link for this, and I'm not trying to sell it. This is just a tiny little screen that you can pair with your iPhone, and you can mirror your screen to it. So that way you can use your forward-facing camera that's better, and you can still frame it up and see how it looks while you're doing that. There's two versions of this. Us cheap people, look at all the money you're spending just because you wanted to have a stupid 3D print, have the ability to use, I think it's this clip here. Yeah, it slides into this, and it mounts into that, and then you can squeeze that around your phone. There's a different version that's magnetized. It uses the MagSafe and just sucks it right on there. So now I'm like, oh man, now I understand why people spend more money. I did not know there were so many things that you could really do with your phone when you're utilizing the MagSafe features that are on it. And now I know why it's called MagSafe, because man, when things have good magnets, you're not getting them to budge off of there without some resistance. Just like you got to pry it.
I have a confession. So I'm sitting here talking to you, and I realized that I'm sitting here with my phone on this.
See, so you are once again now that if that thing were able to telescope up as well, that would be great, because when I'm shooting content here at my desk, I'm not using this camera here. No. That would be too simple. Why? Because I'm too wide and the frame is too squatty. So I literally set a little tripod up on my desk, and the phone sits right in that, which is why the screen became ever so beneficial. But now I'm going crazy magnetizing or putting magnets all over my damn phone. I'm driving myself nuts. I'm driving my wife nuts. I'm driving everybody nuts.
But see, this is where I'm aged a bit when it comes to Apple products, because I remember having an iPod, and those iPods were just, before they had SSD, they were just hard drives, and they had hard drives with screens. And if you put a magnet on the back of that iPod, you were going to destroy your Apple iPod. So
I
it's
understand.
been very hard for me to
It
accept putting magnets.
It makes absolutely no sense. How is the data shielded and protected? Why is it nothing's getting erased here? And I will tell you, one of the hazards that you do have to think about, like in this case, I think this isn't magnetic, but it's metal based and is able to pass it through. It's a special case that also has metal right there. But if you have something like the other grip that I use, it used to be you had to be really careful around your room key if you were traveling. Don't put them in the same pocket, because the magnet on your phone will wipe it out. I've had that happen a few times. Felt pretty stupid. Yep. But I just while you were talking, I took a moment to plug this in as well, I hope, and just so we could give everybody a view of what it looks like when it is. I just gotta remember how to lock my own phone. Why is it not working now? Oh, it's because I'm on the air.
It's not at
yeah, it's not. It's charging, but it's not going into the standby mode that I'm looking for. You know what? That's okay. I didn't want anything to work anyway. It's just the theme of the day, right? There we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we are. And see now.
Very cool.
Look at that. Calendar, time, lets me know what the battery charge is. And the funniest part was when I was telling my wife why I was doing all this. And I'm like, because it's like I'd have a clock radio. If I wake up, I can just tap the face and I'll see what time it is. And he says, you can lift up your wrist and look at what time it is, you idiot. I'm like, oh, that's a good point, too.
Oh, do you sleep with your watch?
Yes, I do. My behavior with my watch is that most of the time I sleep with it. It is also my alarms. The vibrating on it has been the foolproof way for me to wake up. So that's why I adopt it. Plus, that way it can track your sleeping. What I typically will do when I take my shower in the morning, that is when the watch is ready to be charged. And by the time I go through my ablutions and get ready and everything, shortly after the watch is back to being fully charged, I'm ready to go about my day. So that's my watch philosophy. Why? You cradle yours every night?
Yeah, I cradle mine every night. Now I use a CPAP, so for me, I don't need to worry about like what my sleep pattern is.
Good point. So do I. The other thing too that's really stupid about this whole my excitement over this new dock thing is that I'm one of the people that used to be at least adamant about not charging my phone just because I'm going to bed every night. No. I will only charge my phone when my phone needs to be charged, so that way I can maintain good battery health. You know what I'm saying? Don't charge it until it gets low.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, well,
I'm such the opposite.
I think in many ways we all are, okay? In the end, we don't care about what will be best. We always go for what is most convenient. And that's why I'm now looking at this wonderful little ridiculous thing that I absolutely positively had to print just so I could do this. And I sacrifice all of my battery morals. Just throw them right out the window. No consideration whatsoever. Hey, Tony, let me ask you. I know we reached out to you last minute, okay? This was verge of being completely and totally the last minute. But I was just wondering if you had the opportunity to go back to a little something that we had teased about and done at least once, which was Tony's Tech Tidings.
Oh, I'm ready. I put in the work and I'm ready.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Well, let me cue up the really fancy intro we have for this. We don't have it. Everybody, it's time for Tony's Tech Tidings.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how this works. It's really simple. Tony has picked out, let's just say, 3 tech stories, and one of them is false in some way. I'm not saying it is a complete fallacy. It could be partially based in truth, but I am so busy, I don't have time to stay on top of it. I'm supposed to be the prime nethead, the guy that knows all about the tech. Do I know about the latest tech news? So it's kind of like 2 truths and a lie. Tony gets to lead it. So Tony, what is the first story in Tony's Tech Tidings?
All right. And I've written these down so that I can actually appear to know what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and just read story number 1. Will, this one actually has to do with you. Now that since you live in the state of California, you are now able to upload your driver's license or state ID to your Apple Wallet, which will assist you not when you get pulled over. We're not doing tap to fine, but it will help you with the TSA, getting through screenings a little bit quicker using your phone, which is great because your phone will already be out. So you can just drop it in the bucket after you show people your ID and then go through the scanner. But there is a problem. If you wear sunglasses, headbands, or anything that makes your face look anything different than it does on the ID, you may not be able to use it, and you'll still be pulling out that card ID that you have in your wallet.
Let me tell you something, Tony. I just said I've been married 30 years, okay? I'm still one of the people that remembers what the hell a check is. And that is why I will always go to pull out my regular license and not rely on an electronic version. That's not to say I wouldn't do it, but I'm okay taking out my license and throwing that bad boy down, which, by the way, most of the time, they don't even ask me for anymore. They just want to see the ticket. They validate it because, but then again, I do have the, what is the feature, the TSA pre-check. So, that may be the reason why. I'm just living the elitist lifestyle and I'm clueless. So tech story number 1, you'll have the ability to upload your license to your Apple Wallet. Okay, good. What is Tony's Tech Tidings number 2?
Okay. So allegedly, images of the Nintendo Switch 2 has already leaked online. The images feature a robust redesign, departing from the original, or even the Switch Lite. This device will be more in line with a Steam Deck. I don't know if you've seen a Steam Deck before. It's a larger handheld device. A lot of people didn't go to the Switch because of that. Now, they are touting that with this, there is a more powerful GPU, as well as a processing chip comparable to the PS5, which is sparking some concerns about the potential for overheating with such a small device.
Interesting. So we're saying the basic gist of it is that images of the, I'm sitting here looking for my phone when it's sitting in the stupid dock. Images have leaked of the Nintendo Switch 2 is the long and short. A lot of detail in there though. I think trying to scare me off. What is Tech Tidings number 3?
Okay, really simple. We're talking about a lot about, you talk about MagSafe, we talked about Apple products. The FDA has actually approved the AirPod Pro 2 as a hearing aid device, which is really ironic since the first AirPod Pro's main selling point was the noise cancellation feature that allowed you to block out noise. They're now touting the fact that you'll be able to hear better with it.
Well, I know that one is true because I was very interested to hear it come up in the news. And that is one, I will admit.
I'm glad you were able to hear it.
But it is one of the news stories that I was aware of because both I remember the presentation where they said they would be able to take notes. It's limited to the AirPods Pro 2 or AirPod Pros 2, AirPod Pro 2. It's limited to the second edition of the AirPods. I don't know why I'm having such a problem with this.
It's a tongue twister.
You know what? I'm still dwelling on the mentioning of iPods. There was something we were watching that was, my wife and I were watching, that was a little bit older, and I almost got giddy because somebody had an iPod, one of the little iPod color ones, and I'm like, oh man, I remember that. The iPod, guys, you may not be aware of this. As the geriatric old man comes to tell yet another story by the fireside, the reason why they're called podcasts is because you would be able to set up software to automatically have a pre-recorded show automatically delivered to your iPod to listen to. So, without, it would be completely passive. You wouldn't, you just wake up in the morning. Oh, I got a new episode. You listen to it. You're thrilled. So that's where the term podcasting came from. And
yep,
I don't know why I'm having such a problem just saying the name of headphones. But anyway, that's the reason why. And man, that's where my mind must just be locked in on the iPod. But here's what I'm going to do, Tony. I'm going to give you my breakdown, okay? I'm going to tell you my reasoning here, and we're going to see how well my logic plays out. Are you prepared to hear me drop some literal science on you?
Yeah, go for it.
This is going to be a master class in deductive reasoning. Not to mention, I'm starting to get to know you a little more. I'm watching your facial features. I'm doing analysis, reading your body language, seeing what you're doing with your hands. Can you tell I'm stretching this out because I have absolutely no idea which one is the fake story? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I did this last time and it didn't work. I say that the devil is in the details, meaning the more detailed you get, the more you're trying to cover the lie. So, and I also learned from last time that you also adhere to the philosophy that a lie is more believable when it has elements of the truth, right? Because there's the credibility and the naturalness of it. I believe the driver's license one, I believe that to be a story. I would not doubt whatsoever that is a way that our licenses would come into play. And like I said, because of the TSA pre-check, I already know that your license itself isn't as vital. So you may not be able to use it to prove you're driving, but being able to use it at places like TSA and the like, that makes perfect sense to me. So I believe that story is true. I already admitted I know the AirPod Pro 2 here as a hearing aid device story is true because I was interested in it. Because I've been so vain, I haven't gotten the hearing aids that I should get. So that way, when I'm in crowded situations, I can actually hear what people are saying instead of just the droning static of voices and the buzzing in my ears. I think the Nintendo Switch 2 story is false. And here's how I'm going to say that I believe it's false. I believe that it was probably a fake that was leaked. So the truth is that there were leaks that were alluding to the Nintendo Switch 2, but they've been demonstrably proven as false. That's my theory. That's how I'm approaching this. This is how I'm trying to unpeel the onion, or peel the onion, that is Tony Abdullah, sir. We don't have any fancy way to do this. We don't have any sound effects. We don't have anything silly. Tony, I've given you my answer. We're going to go to you now. Am I right?
So, first of all, I want to just give this disclaimer. It was a very weird news week. The only other thing that I could think of to add to these stories was the fact that Nintendo is suing a company that is making games with Pokemons with guns for trademark infringement. So I had to take a truth and make it a lie. So you are correct. The Nintendo Switch 2 story is a lie, but it's a lie based in truth. There were leaked images that did come out for the Nintendo Switch 2. They're looking for an announcement sometime in spring of 2025. The only thing that was the lie, there is no robust redesign. They are not touting a bigger, powerful GPU or a comparable processing chip. Literally, it looks like a bigger screen Nintendo Switch. There's nothing to let us know that this thing is going to be any more powerful than the original.
Well, it is nice to know that my logic was both flawed yet accurate. So I'm going to take the win. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. I am so glad to hear that we got to play that sound this week instead of... So, thankfully, I am a winner. What is my prize, Tony? Exactly, there is no prize. We just do it for the fun of it. So thank you for bringing that to the table. I always appreciate it. There is... whenever I get to do fandoms, the thing that I've said about it that I absolutely love is the fact that I have no expectations. I don't have to adhere to any schedule. I don't have to adhere to any concepts or topics. I don't have to prepare a damn thing. And even though I have the nerve to ask you to prepare stuff, but I don't have to prepare anything. I just get to show up and have fun. And by you doing this, I have those few moments here on NetHeads as well. So thank you. Well done. We will see. I think maybe next time we should turn the tables. That way it can be turning the tables on Tony's Tech Tidings, and I'll prepare the stories, and you get to guess.
Okay, I'm good with that. Absolutely.
Awesome. I think that is a grand plan, and that is something we're going to do. Look, guys, I'm not going to lie. Like I said, we kicked this thing off with a little bit of issues. It is time for us to wrap this up, whether we want to or not. Why? Because I got family and I got obligations, and it's getting late where Tony is. So don't forget, if you go to itsfanbox.com, right, Tony?
Yes, it's fanbox.com. You can find us at fanbox on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's all the same. So just look for it's fanbox.
Yes, and so the point is, both check that out, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Mash that button so you get alerted. All that fun hullabaloo. But also make sure to go there Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, and they are going to do a nice nerdy deep dive on Agatha All Along, the same thing we kicked off today's episode.
Oh, yeah.
So, you just got my brief thoughts, but if you want to hear a bunch of other people's grand ideas, there is the place to go. And don't forget also next week after you watch NetHeads or listen to us again, don't forget to check us out Friday. Once again, hit that It's Fan box. Check out Fandoms where Tony and I will be, we'll be talking about something. Same thing, kind of the same thing here. We're going to talk about something. I don't know what it is. We're going to talk about it. So, and that'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, a week from tomorrow. So be sure to check all those things out. Also, if you are a person that does 3D printing, let's say you have, I think for almost every major printer brand, it's available. If you go to the link in the bio, it is SliceWorks. They offer you the triple dipped polymer build plate. It is an amazing thing because it lets you both have your build plate at a lower temperature, but it also, with that triple dip, it is a nice sticky surface when it's warm. So it's sticky when it's hot, and when it's cold, it's not. I finally figured out the right way to say that. So if you want to go ahead and click that link down there, and you can use the offer code ThatWillWilkins as the coupon to check out. I believe you get 5% off your purchase. So it is a revolutionary thing. I would not have been able to make my way through printing the Deadpool helmets if it hadn't been for that sticky build plate. And next week, I will be able to show you as well something else that I've printed, and I look forward to whipping that out. No, it's just a helmet, but I look forward to revealing it. And as a matter of fact, if I had just had, I'd say about 10 minutes extra, I would have been able to at least minimally have it put it together to reveal it this week. But we'll go ahead and reveal it next week, giving you a reason to come back. Anyway, thank you very much for dropping in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening after the fact. Wherever you are, thank you. Special thanks again to Patreon supporter of the week, Chris Davis. Sir, we salute you. We speak your name. Thank you so much. Tony, thank you for dropping in on this episode.
Always.
Until next time, guys, my name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
Live long and prosper.
And may the force be with you.
NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
This has been a Smodcast production. Smodcast Podcast, using our mouths on you since 2007.
Funniest part is that there was that delay for that show close, that long hang where you're like, is he going to cut away from me and play the damn sound? Where I had to, because of the trauma of the Deadpool helmet and being on camera and being caught flubbing, I literally, because the idea is I go, live long and prosper, and then you go, may the force be with you. And the idea is I'm able to click over to you, and now I can look down here at the board, and I can get ready on the show number and the show close. So by the time you say you of may the force be with you, I can just go
NetHeads.
But because of that damn Deadpool helmet trauma, I just had to take a brief moment and stop and look up and make sure. Oh, that's a good look.
Oh man, that would have been a great scene to see. Like, you cut to me and then you cut back to you and you're like,
yeah, and I'm just like this. Anyway, so yeah, that's why the long pause. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again, guys. But like I said, we got to